Changing your fate is something that for a very long time humans have believed can be done through sheer willpower alone. Some say that it's repeating the same statement of words over and over again, such as, "I will own a beautiful home," in the hopes that you will manifest the ownership of a beautiful home. Some say one is supposed to visualize being in that state and immerse oneself in the imagination of it. Others say that you perform some magical ritual and your fate will be changed, the world will be manifested for you, and blah, 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 blah. What I want to add to this conversation is that there's a lot more nuance to this idea than what people on the outside claim there to be. And I think it's mostly because we live in a world where people like to talk about things, but very few people deeply investigate things, because you can find any fact you want in an encyclopedia, on the internet. Just Google it is a common phrase. And this is somewhat true. So our surface level knowledge is quite extensive, but the depth of that knowledge is rather shallow. Now, what I understand about manifestation is somewhat different than what most people understand about manifestation. And what I understand about it is that it is not the visualization, it's not the words, it's not the ritual. It is the feeling which arises in the body and the mind when someone is engaged with the idea. So if the idea is, for instance, you want to own a beautiful house, how does that make you feel is more important than whether or not you repeat a statement 1,000 times. When you imagine yourself owning a beautiful house, think very clearly about how it makes you feel. You want to observe your feelings when you're imagining this, because when one does that, you can notice that a particular type of feeling arises in the body and the mind, okay? And that is the energy through which the thing is manifested in the future, okay? So when you imagine something in your mind, it's not that it's just inside your head, it's a future, a projection of your energy into the future. And it's through observation and the feeling of that experience that future becomes real. And it's like a seed. Like if you want to grow a tree, you plant a seed and you water it. And you don't just water it once. You water it whenever it needs it to grow, whenever it feels or appears to be weak. So let me run you through the steps to doing this, okay? And I think this will be a relatively short explanation, as it's just a thought that I had that I figured would be a good idea to put into words, even though words are mechanical in some sense, which gives them limitations. Understand that the feeling that they produce is actually the truth underneath of it, not necessarily what they mean. Because words talk about the past. They don't yet talk about things that have not happened yet. They can theorize about it, they can be used to theorize about it, but they're not adequate forms until the thing actually happens, okay? And so you're trapped in the past if you're stuck on words. Visualization is somewhat closer to the future, but in the same way, it can be trapped in the past as well. But the feeling, okay, is that thing existing in your mind. It actually existing in your mind is the feeling. And that's the tree that you're trying to grow. So what I would say the steps are, if you were, attempting to manifest something, would be to imagine, and if you aren't very good visually, then do it with words or do it with a different sense, like touch or, there's 5 senses. Even people who have aphantasia and can't visualize things can use the other senses, and I know because I've talked to people like this and have tried things, and it does work to try and feel it, like with your hands in your mind instead of your eyes. But what you want to do is, let's say you say a statement. How does that statement make you feel? You pay attention to your feelings. You visualize. How does that visualization make you feel? You pay attention to your feelings. You don't let yourself be distracted. And once you have accustomized yourself to that feeling, you meditate on it, on the feeling alone, without the words, without the visualization, without anything else, even though you can use those to help and to reset yourself. You want to just sort of bask in that feeling until it feels real.